I froze in the hallway, my hand on the doorknob, as voices drifted from the kitchen. "We can't wait any longer," my son Marcus hissed, his tone sharp and urgent. "She's getting suspicious. If we slip it into her tea tonight, it'll look like a natural heart failure. The doctor said her age makes it believable. Then the house, the stocks, everything's ours." His wife, Lila, laughed softly. "Finally. I've waited 3 years for this. No more pretending to care about the old bat." My heart pounded. I was Evelyn Harper, 68 years old, a widow living in a quiet suburb of Seattle. Until that moment, I thought my son loved me. But there I stood, eavesdropping on my own murder plot. I backed away silently, my mind racing. They didn't know about the envelope my husband Thomas had left me before his cancer took him last year. Inside were secrets that could change everything. It started 6 months after Thomas died. I was still raw from grief, sorting through his old desk in the study. That's when I found it. A sealed letter addressed to me in his steady handwriting. "Evelyn, my darling," it read, "if you're reading this, I'm gone, but I've left you more than memories. Check the safe deposit box at First National Bank, number 5112. Use it wisely. Love always, Thomas." I went to the bank the next day, my hands shaking as the clerk handed me the box. Inside were documents, stock certificates in tech companies Thomas had invested in secretly during his engineering career. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, shares bought decades ago, now worth over $5 million. There were also deeds to 2 rental properties in Portland I never knew about, generating steady income. Thomas had hidden it all to protect me from worry and to test our family's true colors. "Don't tell Marcus yet," his note warned. "Let him show who he really is." Back then, I dismissed it as paranoia. Thomas had always been cautious, especially after Marcus's wild youth. Partying, dropping out of college, racking up debts. But I loved my son. Adopted at birth, he was my only child. I raised him alone after Thomas's long hours at work. Marcus married Lila 2 years ago, a flashy real estate agent with expensive tastes. They visited often, helping with chores, or so I thought. Now it all clicked. The extra vitamins Lila insisted I take. The way Marcus eyed the house during dinners. That night, after overhearing them, I didn't confront them. Instead, I played along. I shuffled into the kitchen, forcing a weak smile. "Oh, there you are. I must have dozed off in the living room." Marcus jumped, his face paling for a split second before he recovered. "Mom, we were just making tea. Want some?" Lila poured a cup, her eyes too bright. "Here, Evelyn. It's chamomile. Good for your nerves." I took a sip, pretending to swallow, then excused myself to bed. In my room, I poured the rest down the sink. My mind whirled. They thought I was frail, clueless, but Thomas had prepared me. I had resources they couldn't imagine. I decided then I wouldn't call the police yet. I'd let them dig their own grave, teach Marcus a lesson he'd never forget. Redemption, if he earned it, or ruin, if he didn't. The next morning, I acted normal. Marcus and Lila stayed for breakfast, chattering about their big plans. "Mom, you should update your will," Marcus said casually, buttering toast, "just in case." I nodded vaguely. "Maybe. I'm feeling tired lately." Inside, I seethed. After they left for work, I called my old friend Rebecca, a retired lawyer from my teaching days. "Becky, I need help, discreetly." I explained everything, including the hidden assets. She whistled. "Evelyn, this is serious. We can set up surveillance, gather evidence, but why not go to the cops now?" "Because he's my son," I whispered. "I need to know if there's any good left in him, and if not, I'll handle it my way." We met at a coffee shop downtown. Rebecca reviewed the documents. Thomas was smart. "Everything's in a trust under your name only. Marcus gets nothing unless you specify. We can add clauses, make inheritance conditional on behavior." I agreed. We installed hidden cameras in the house that afternoon, linked to my phone, tiny ones and clocks and picture frames. "If they try anything," Rebecca said, "we'll have proof." That evening, Marcus called. "Mom, Lila and I are coming over. We worry about you living alone." I smiled to myself. That's sweet. See you soon. When they arrived, Lila carried groceries. I made your favorite stew. I watched them closely. Marcus seemed edgy, glancing at my medicine cabinet. On my phone app, I saw the camera feed. Later, in the kitchen alone, Lila slipped a powder into my bowl. My blood ran cold. I ate the stew, spilling most under the table when they weren't looking. Feigned drowsiness. I think I'll turn in early. In bed, I texted Rebecca. It's happening, powder and food. She replied, stay alert. I'm alerting a contact at the precinct just in case. Hours passed. I lay awake, heart racing. Footsteps creaked outside my door. The knob turned slowly. Marcus whispered, is she out? Lila, should be. Let's check. They entered, shadows in the moonlight. Marcus leaned over me, hand reaching for my neck. To check pulse? I bolted up, eyes wide. What are you doing? They froze. Marcus stammered, Mom, we heard a noise. Thought you fell. Lila nodded frantically. Yeah, just checking. I pretended confusion. Oh, must be the meds. Go back to bed. They left, whispering furiously. On the camera, I heard Lila, damn, not enough dose. Tomorrow, double it. My resolve hardened. This wasn't just greed. It was attempted murder. But I needed more evidence. And deep down, I hoped Marcus would back out. Thomas always said our son had potential, if pushed. The next week was a cat-and-mouse game. I dodged their poisons, switched cups, flushed pills, acted weaker each day, luring them deeper. Marcus grew bolder, rifling through my drawers when he thought I napped. He found old bank statements, small ones from my teacher's pension. See, he told Lila, only $50,000 in savings, but the house is worth $400,000. We sell it, pay my debts, start fresh. His debts. That explained it. I remembered bailing him out before. Gambling, bad investments. Lila pushed him. Your mom's in the way. Do it for us. I wept silently, watching the feeds. My boy corrupted. Then, a breakthrough. Rebecca called. We traced the powder. It's from a black market site. Heart-stopping stuff. Bought with Marcus's credit card. Idiot. Evidence mounted. But I waited. One night, they upped the ante. Lila mixed a stronger dose in my evening cocoa. I drank it, then collapsed dramatically in the living room. Help, chest hurts, Marcus panicked. Call 911? Lila hissed, no, wait it out, it's working. But Marcus hesitated. She's my mom. For a moment, I saw doubt in his eyes. That's when I revived, gasping. What happened? They fumbled excuses. Later on camera, Marcus to Lila, I can't do this, there has to be another way. Lila sneered. Too late. We're in deep. Hope flickered. Maybe he could be saved. But Lila was the poison. I needed to separate them, expose her. The climax came 2 days later. I invited them for dinner. Let's talk family. They arrived wary. I served wine, mine untouched. As we ate, I dropped the bomb. I know everything. Marcus paled. What? I played the camera footage on my tablet. Their faces drained. Lila bolted for the door. Marcus grabbed her. You said no one would know. Police sirens wailed outside. Rebecca's doing. Officers burst in, cuffs ready. Lila screamed denials. Marcus broke down, sobbing. Mom, I'm sorry. It was her idea. I was desperate. Debts from my business failure, $200,000 owed. I thought, inheritance. I stood tall. Desperate enough to kill me? He wept. No, I couldn't go through with it. The cops took them. But as Marcus was led away, I whispered, this isn't the end. Prove you're better. In court weeks later, evidence sealed their fate. Lila got 10 years for attempted murder. Marcus, pleading guilty to conspiracy, got 5, with parole possible if he reformed. But that was just the start. While he served time, I visited monthly. Thomas left us wealth, son, but you have to earn it. I revealed the millions, the properties. His eyes widened. Why tell me now? Because redemption is possible. Work on yourself. He did. Therapy, classes, apologies, and letters. When paroled after 2 years, he was changed, humble, grateful. Now we run a foundation together, helping debt-ridden families. The betrayal forged us stronger, but that whispered plot? It haunts me. Family secrets cut deep, but healing cuts deeper. I sat in the visitor room of King County Correctional, the plastic chair cold against my back, watching Marcus shuffle in wearing an orange jumpsuit. 2 years had passed since that night I played dead on the living room rug. He looked thinner, his once cocky jaw now tight with something that might have been shame. "Mom," he said, voice cracking on the single word. I nodded, slid the manila folder across the table. "Open it." He flipped it with trembling fingers. Inside were printouts, bank statements, property appraisals, the trust Thomas had built in silence. $5,200,000 in liquid assets. 2 rental duplexes in Portland pulling in $8,000 a month. A commercial strip in Tacoma worth another $1 million. His eyes widened. This was Dad's? "All of it," I said. "And every cent stays locked until you prove you deserve a single dollar." He stared at the numbers like they were foreign. "I thought the house was all you had." "You thought wrong." I leaned closer. "Your father predicted this. He said greed turns love into a transaction. He wanted you to choose which side you stood on." Marcus swallowed. "I chose wrong." The guard signaled 5 minutes left. I stood. "Earn the right to walk out of here a man, not a convict. Then we'll talk." That visit was the first of many. Every Saturday for 18 months, I drove the 40 minutes from my quiet craftsman in Maple Leaf to the prison. Marcus enrolled in financial literacy classes, anger management, even a welding certification. He wrote letters, real ones, on paper that smelled faintly of bleach. "I see Lila's face in my dreams," he confessed in one. "She's laughing while I pour powder into your tea. I wake up sweating." I wrote back, "Nightmares are teachers. Listen to them." Meanwhile, I wasn't idle. Rebecca helped me liquidate the Tacoma Strip Mall for $1,150,000 cash. I funneled half into a nonprofit called Second Ledger, financial rescue for families drowning in predatory debt. The other half I parked in a trust with ironclad conditions. Marcus could access principal only after 5 years of documented sobriety, employment, and community service. Interest would fund the nonprofit forever. Word spread. Local news ran a segment. "Widow turns hidden fortune into lifeline for struggling Seattle families." Reporters camped on my lawn. I gave one interview, calm and clipped. "My husband believed wealth without wisdom destroys. I'm honoring that." Marcus saw the segment in the prison common room. He told me later it gutted him. Seeing strangers helped with money he'd tried to steal through murder. "I don't want a dime, Mom," he said during our next visit. "Just let me work for you when I get out." I didn't answer. Not yet. Lila, meanwhile, rotted in Purdy Women's Facility. She fired her public defender, hired a slick attorney who tried to paint Marcus as the mastermind. It backfired. The jury saw the camera footage. Her gloved hand tipping powder, her smirk. 10 years, no parole. She sent me a letter once, scrawled in purple ink. "You'll burn for this, Evelyn." I framed it in the nonprofit office as a reminder. 6 months before Marcus's parole hearing, Rebecca called. "We have a problem. Someone's sniffing around the trust." A private investigator named Derek Voss, ex-cop, now corporate bloodhound, had been hired by an anonymous client. He'd pulled Thomas's old engineering patents, traced shell companies, even subpoenaed bank records. "He's close," Rebecca warned. "If he links the fortune to Marcus, parole could be denied, or worse. Someone tries to seize it." I met Voss in a rainy parking lot near Pike Place. He leaned against a black SUV, trenchcoat collar up. "Mrs. Harper, your late husband was clever, layered holdings through 3 LLCs. Took me weeks." "Who's paying you?" I asked. He smiled. "Client privilege. But here's free advice. Liquidate before the IRS audits, or before someone less ethical does." I didn't flinch. "Tell your client the money's spoken for, charity and conditions." He shrugged, climbed back into his car. That night, I moved the liquid assets into a donor-advised fund, untouchable by heirs, creditors, or PIs. Marcus would have to earn every future dollar the hard way. Parole day arrived gray and drizzly. Marcus walked out in jeans and a thrift store jacket, duffel over one shoulder. No fanfare. I waited by my Subaru. He stopped 10 feet away. I practiced this speech 1,000 times, he said, but it all sounds like excuses. I opened the passenger door. Get in. We'll talk over coffee. We drove to a diner on Aurora. He ordered black coffee, hands wrapped around the mug like it might vanish. I start a welding apprenticeship Monday, he said. Pays $18 an hour. I found a studio in Fremont, $350 a month. I nodded. Good. You'll pay rent to the nonprofit, market rate. No handouts. He looked relieved, like he'd expected a trap. That night, he moved into the basement I'd converted. Separate entrance, mini kitchen, no frills. Rule 1, weekly drug tests. Rule 2, every paycheck stub on my desk. Rule 3, Saturday volunteer shifts at Second Ledger. He agreed without hesitation. Weeks blurred. Marcus welded rebar by day, counseled debt-crushed dads by night. One evening, he brought home a folder. Client intake, he said. Single mom, medical bills, payday loans at 400% interest. I negotiated her balance down to $22,000. She starts payments next month. Pride flickered in his eyes, the first I'd seen since he was 10. But peace never lasts. One Thursday, Rebecca burst through my door, raincoat dripping. Voss is back, and he's not alone. She slid photos across the table. Voss meeting a man in a tailored suit outside a Belltown high-rise. The man's face was sharp, familiar. Recognize him? She asked. I did. Connor Hale, Thomas's former business partner, cut out of a patent deal 20 years ago. He'd sworn revenge. He thinks the fortune should have been his, I whispered, and now he knows it exists. Rebecca's voice was grim. He's filed a civil suit, claiming half the trust as wrongful exclusion. Discovery starts in 30 days. If he wins, Second Ledger collapses. Marcus loses everything he's working for. I stared at the photo. Connor's smile was predatory. The game had changed. My son's redemption and thousands of families' futures hung on secrets Thomas took to his grave. And somewhere in those old patents was a clause even I didn't know about. Marcus walked in, wiping grease from his hands. What's wrong? I handed him the photo. His face hardened. I remember him. Dad said he was dangerous. He is, I said, and he's coming for us. Outside, thunder cracked over Seattle. The past wasn't buried. It was clawing its way up. The rain hammered Seattle for 3 straight days, turning gutters into rivers and moods into sludge. I stood in the attic of our maple leaf house, flashlight beam cutting through dust motes, searching for a box Thomas had labeled "Old Work, Do Not Discard." Marcus crouched beside me, welding scarred fingers prying open a warped banker's box. Inside, yellowed blueprints, floppy disks, and a single spiral notebook with a cracked leather cover. Dad's handwriting, Marcus whispered, flipping pages. Equations, sketches of circuit boards, margin notes in frantic ink. On page 47, a sticky tab marked Hale Clause Confidential. My pulse quickened. Thomas had mentioned Connor Hale once, drunk on anniversary wine. That snake tried to steal my patent. I buried a kill switch in the contract. If he ever resurfaces, burn him with it. We carried the notebook downstairs. Rebecca arrived an hour later, raincoat dripping on my hardwood. She read the clause aloud. In the event Partner B, Hale, pursues litigation for ownership exceeding 24 months post-separation, Partner A, Thomas, retains unilateral right to void the original licensing agreement and reassign all royalties to a charitable trust. Rebecca's eyes gleamed. This is dynamite. If we file it with the court, Connor's suit dies before discovery. Marcus frowned. But Dad signed the separation in 2003. Connor waited 21 years. Doesn't that make the clause expire? Rebecca shook her head. The trigger is litigation, not time. He just pulled the pin. We celebrated too soon. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Attic box is cute, but you're missing the master copy. Meet me tomorrow. Gasworks Park, noon. Come alone or the real patent burns. Attached was a photo, the original 1998 licensing agreement, edges singed, held over a lit candle. Connor had broken into the house. The attic window latch was snapped. He'd been one step ahead. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I called Marcus into the kitchen. I'm meeting him. No way, he said. He's dangerous. I showed him the photo. If that document burns, Second Ledger loses everything. Thousands of families sink. Marcus's jaw set. Then I'm coming. Hidden. We arrived at Gasworks at 11:55 a.m., wind whipping off Lake Union. The old industrial ruins loomed like rusted skeletons. Connor waited on a graffiti-covered boiler, trench coat flapping, a metal briefcase at his feet. He smiled when he saw Marcus. Family reunion. How touching. I stepped forward. Give me the original. Connor dangled it. First, wire $2 million to this offshore account. He slid a card across the metal. Or I torch it. Poof. Your charity, your son's future, gone. Marcus's fists clenched. I placed a calming hand on his arm. We don't have $2 million liquid. Lie. The donor-advised fund held 3 times that. Connor laughed. Liar. I've seen the statements Voss pulled. He struck a lighter. Flame-kissed paper. Marcus lunged. Connor sidestepped, swinging the briefcase. It cracked against Marcus's temple. He went down hard. I screamed. Connor grabbed my wrist, twisting. Wire it now, Evelyn, or watch your boy bleed out while the patent burns. Blood trickled from Marcus's scalp. I tasted copper. Fear. My phone was in my coat. I raised it slowly. Okay. Routing number? Connor recited. I typed fake click stalling. Marcus groaned, rolling. His hand found a rusted pipe. In one motion, Marcus swung. The pipe connected with Connor's knee. Crunch. Connor howled, dropping the lighter. The patent fluttered. I dove, snatching it as flames licked the corner. Marcus tackled Connor, pinning him. Call 911! He yelled. Sirens already wailed. Rebecca had tailed us, parked out of sight. Uniforms swarmed. Connor thrashed, spitting curses. You'll never prove provenance, an officer cuffed him. The patent, singed but intact, went into evidence. At the hospital, Marcus got 12 stitches. I sat beside his bed, clutching the plastic bag with the scorched document. You saved us, I said. He winced. Almost lost you. A pause. Mom, when Connor had that lighter, I saw Dad. He was proud. Back home, Rebecca pored over the original. It's better than the notebook, she said. Thomas embedded a second clause. Royalties revert to the charitable trust retroactively if Hale litigates. Connor owes us 20 years of back payments, roughly $950,000. We filed the counterclaim the next morning. Connor's suit collapsed. Judge ruled the kill switch ironclad. The back royalties funded Second Ledger for a decade, but victory tasted bittersweet. Marcus stared at the scar in the mirror. I almost killed a man. You stopped one, I corrected. He shook his head. Same hands that almost poisoned you. Therapy started that week. Twice weekly, court mandated. 3 months later, Connor took a plea, 5 years for assault, extortion. At sentencing, he glared from the defendant's table. This isn't over, Harper. The gavel fell. Marcus didn't flinch. That night, we burned the singed corner of the patent in the fireplace, symbolic cleansing. Sparks rose like fireflies. Marcus whispered, Dad's watching. I believed him. Second Ledger expanded. A new satellite office in Tacoma, a mobile debt clinic van. Marcus ran the welding apprenticeship program, teaching ex-cons to earn $18 an hour with dignity. Enrollment tripled, yet a shadow lingered. One morning, an envelope slid under my door. No stamp, no return address. Inside, a single photograph, me, asleep in my bedroom, taken through the window. On the back, scrawled in red, Tell Marcus to enjoy freedom. It's temporary. Connor was in prison. Someone else was watching. I stared at the photograph on my kitchen table, the red scrawl bleeding into the paper like a fresh wound. The angle was impossible, taken from the maple tree outside my bedroom window, 30 feet up. Whoever climbed that trunk knew the house, knew me, and they'd been close enough to watch me sleep. Marcus arrived 10 minutes later, still in his welding gear, soot streaked across his cheek. I slid the photo across, his face drained. "That's last night, you were reading." He flipped it. "Connor's locked up." "Who?" I cut him off. "Someone he hired, or someone worse." Rebecca was already on speaker, voice tight. "I'm pulling prison visitor logs. Give me an hour." While we waited, Marcus circled the house like a guard dog, checking locks, motion sensors I'd installed after the attic break-in. He found the breach, a single strand of black fishing line tied to the gate latch, tripwire for a camera now missing. "Professional," he muttered. "Not Lila, she's still inside." I nodded. Lila had sent no letters since her transfer to minimum security. This felt colder, calculated. Rebecca called back. "Connor had one visitor last month. A woman, fake ID, but facial recognition pinged. Named Sasha Klein, ex-military intelligence, dishonorably discharged. Works private security now, specialty digital surveillance." My stomach dropped. She's the ghost. We hired a counter-surveillance firm that afternoon, $3,000 a day. They swept the house with RF detectors, found 2 pinhole cameras, one in the smoke detector above my bed, another in the nonprofit's office printer. Both streamed to an encrypted server in Estonia. "Military grade," the tech said. "Whoever planted these trained with NSA toys." Marcus insisted on moving me to a hotel. I refused. "This is my home. We fight from here." Instead, we turned the tables. Rebecca looped dummy footage, me sleeping, Marcus arguing on fake calls about trust disbursements. We baited the trap. 2 nights later, the motion sensor pinged at 2:14 a.m. Marcus and I watched the feed from the basement. A figure in black tactical gear rappelled from the roof, cut the bedroom window silently. Sasha. She moved like smoke, planting a thumb drive in my laptop. Marcus was already upstairs, hidden in the closet. He waited until she leaned over the keyboard, then struck. The fight was brutal. Sasha spun, elbow to his throat. Marcus absorbed, tackled her into the dresser. Wood splintered. I burst in with the taser Rebecca had insisted I carry. 50,000 volts crackled. Sasha convulsed, dropped. Zip ties snapped on. She came to cursing in Russian. Police took her within minutes. The thumb drive, ransomware, would have locked Second Ledger's donor database, demanded $1 million in Bitcoin. But the real prize was her phone. Unlocked with her twitching thumb, it spilled everything. Texts to an unknown number. Sasha. Package planted. Harper trusts son again. Unknown. Good. When nonprofit collapses, buy the patents cheap. Sasha. Need final payment. $500K. Unknown. After crash. Patience. The number traced to a burner registered in Bellevue, but the patents, Thomas's old circuit designs, were public domain now. Why buy scraps? Rebecca dug deeper, found a patent troll LLC, Hale Restoration Holdings. Connor's sister, Denise Hale, was the registered agent. She'd been quietly acquiring adjacent IP, planning to bundle Thomas's work into a new 5G antenna patent, worth hundreds of millions to telecom giants. Denise wasn't in prison. She was free and furious. We confronted her the next day at her glass-walled condo overlooking Elliott Bay. Marcus and I walked in with a warrant. Rebecca had pulled strings. Denise, 55, Botox smooth, sipped rosé on the balcony. Evelyn. To what do I owe the pleasure? I slapped the phone records on the table. Your brother tried to kill me. Now you're trying to bankrupt my charity. End it. She laughed. Prove it. Sasha's a contractor. Plausible deniability. Marcus stepped forward. We have her full confession on body cam. She rolled the second cop's mentioned treason charges. Streaming to Estonia, violates CFAA. Denise's smile faltered. What do you want? Drop the LLC. Sign over the adjacent patents to Second Ledger, or we hand everything to the FBI. She stared at the Puget Sound, calculating. Fine, but Connor gets nothing when he's out. He gets what he earns, I said, like everyone. She signed the transfer that afternoon. The new patents funded a tech education wing at the non-profit, free coding boot camps for foster kids. Sasha took a plea, 3 years. Denise vanished to Costa Rica, tail between her legs. Marcus and I celebrated with takeout pho on the porch. We won, he said. I clinked my bowl to his. Round 1. Because that night, another envelope slid under the door. This one heavier. Inside, a flash drive and a note in typed font. You stop the sister. The father's next. Play the video. I inserted the drive with Marcus hovering. Grainy security footage. A hospital room, 2003. Thomas on life support, machines beeping. A younger Connor Hale leaning over him, whispering, Sign the addendum, Tom, or the brakes on Evelyn's car fail next week. Thomas, drugged, scrawled a shaky signature. The addendum, a secret clause giving Connor's family future claim to any patent derivatives if Thomas died unnaturally. Marcus's voice shook. Dad's death. The cancer wasn't cancer, I finished. Thomas had a heart condition, stress-induced. Connor threatened me to force the signature. The car, remember the accident 6 months before he died? Brakes failed on Queen Anne Hill. I walked away. He didn't. The video ended with Connor's smirk. Insurance policy. See you in court. Connor was still in prison, but the addendum was real. Filed quietly in a Delaware courthouse buried in probate. If validated, it could claw back every patent, every dollar. Second Ledger would implode. Marcus's redemption, the families we'd saved, gone. I looked at my son. We're not done. He nodded, eyes steel. Then we bury him for good. Outside, the rain returned, harder than ever. I booked the red eye to Philadelphia the same night the video arrived. Marcus wanted to come. I made him stay. You're on parole. 1 toe across state lines without permission and they'll lock you up again. He paced the kitchen like a caged wolf. Then take Rebecca. I shook my head. This part's mine. Thomas signed under duress. I was the threat. I'm the witness. Rebecca met me at SeaTac with a thick folder and a burner phone. Delaware Chancery Court opens at 9. We file an emergency motion to vacate the addendum at 9:05. Judge Mary Elizabeth Roth is old school. She hates coercion. But Connor's lawyer, Victor Lang, is a shark. He'll argue Thomas was lucid. She handed me a flash drive. Sasha's full interrogation. She confirms Connor bragged about the hospital visit. We pair it with the video. I slept fitfully on the plane, dreaming of brakes screaming down Queen Anne Hill, Thomas's hand trembling on the pen. At 6:12 a.m. Eastern, we landed in a drizzle. A town car waited. Rebecca had called in favors. By 8:47, we stood outside the Leonard L. Williams Justice Center in Wilmington, marble steps slick with rain. Victor Lang was already there, Italian suit, silver hair, smirk sharp as a scalpel. Mrs. Harper. Flying coach to lose everything? How poetic. I didn't answer. Rebecca shoved the motion into the clerk's hand. At 9:03, the clerk stamped it. At 9:07, Judge Roth's bailiff called an impromptu hearing. The courtroom smelled of lemon polish and desperation. Connor appeared via video link from prison, orange jumpsuit stark against cinder block. His eyes locked on mine. Pure venom. Lang opened. Your Honor, the addendum is a simple estate adjustment. Mr. Harper was terminal. He wanted his partner's family protected. Rebecca countered with the hospital footage. The room chilled as Thomas's drugged scrawl filled the screen. Sasha's voiceover from interrogation. Hale said he'd kill the wife if Harper didn't sign. Lang objected. Chain of custody, coercion on Sasha. But Roth waved him off. I've seen enough. The addendum is void for duress. Case dismissed. Connor lunged at the camera. You bitch! Guards tackled him. The feed cut. We should have felt triumph. Instead, dread coiled in my gut. Lang approached as we left, voice low. Enjoy the win. Connor has friends outside. They don't file motions. Rebecca's hand went to her purse. Pepper spray. I kept walking. Back in Seattle that night, Marcus met me at baggage claim. It's over? I showed him the court order. He exhaled like a man surfacing from deep water. We drove home in silence. At 2:14 a.m., the security system screamed. Front door breached. Marcus grabbed the baseball bat from the hall closet. I dialed 911. We crept downstairs. The living room was trashed. Couch slashed. Drawers emptied. On the coffee table, a single playing card, the ace of spades. On the back, in red marker, insurance policy activated. Marcus's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A photo. The second ledger office. Dark, but a red laser dot danced on the reception desk. Caption, boom. We evacuated neighbors, called bomb squad. They found it in the ceiling tile. C4, enough to level the block, timer disarmed at 0003. The tech whistled. Military grade, same signature as Sasha's gear. Connor's friends outside weren't bluffing. Dawn brought FBI. Agent Ruiz, crisp suit, no nonsense. We're opening a RICO case. Connor's running a crew from inside. Extortion, explosives, the works. We need you both to wear wires. Marcus paled. I'm on parole. Ruiz smiled. We'll square it with your PO. This ends him for good. The plan? Stage a desperate meeting. I'd leaked to Lang that Marcus wanted to cut a deal, sell the patents quietly, split proceeds. Lang would relay to Connor. The crew would surface to collect. FBI would swoop. We set it for Friday noon at the nonprofit. Marcus and I rehearsed lines until they felt natural. I can't keep looking over my shoulder, he'd say. Take the patents, give us half, walk away. My stomach churned, but Ruiz assured, snipers on the roof, you'll be safer than the president. Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. I slipped into Thomas's old study, opened the safe. Inside, a second flash drive labeled Last Resort. I'd forgotten it existed. I plugged it in. A video. Thomas. Gaunt hospital bed. If you're watching, Evelyn, they got the addendum past you. There's one more card. In 2004, Connor's company laundered money through a shell in the Caymans. I kept the wire records. Account 4478X. Leak it to the press and the telecom giants drop him like plutonium. He'll be too radioactive to touch you. I forwarded it to Ruiz. She texted back, jackpot. IRS is looping in. We're ending this tomorrow. Friday, 11:58 a.m. The office buzzed with staged chaos. Volunteers panicked about the bomb scare. Marcus paced, wire taped under his shirt. I clutched a fake briefcase, supposedly holding patent deeds. At 12:02, tires screeched outside. 3 men in ski masks, AR-15s. On the floor, they screamed. Marcus raised hands. We're cooperating. I slid the briefcase. Half the patents, $2 million wired today. The leader, scar across his eyebrow, grabbed it. Connor says hello. FBI breached from every door. Drop it. Flashbangs popped. Gunfire. Controlled bursts. 2 gunmen down, 1 zip-tied. Scar-Eye bled from the leg, cursing. Ruiz cuffed him personally. Tell Connor his empire's dust. By nightfall, arrests rolled in. Connor's prison accountant, a dirty guard, Lang himself for conspiracy. The Caymans leak hit Bloomberg at 6:00 p.m. Telecom patent troll tied to money laundering. Stock in Connor's shell company plummeted. Telecom giants severed ties. Connor got life, no parole. Rico sealed it. Marcus and I stood on the porch at sunset, city lights flickering on. It's really over, he whispered. I handed him the court order voiding the addendum, the FBI case closure. Your father's last card, I said. He teared up. He saved us twice. Second Ledger reopened Monday, stronger. The bomb scare became legend. Donations tripled. Marcus proposed a new program, vocational training for ex-cons named Thomas's Second Chance. But that night, one final envelope, no photo, no threat, just a single line in Thomas's handwriting, slipped through the mail slot years ago, finally delivered by the post office after probate cleared. If you're reading this, you won. Now live, Evelyn. Love, T. I pressed it to my chest. Marcus hugged me. For the first time in years, the house felt safe. Or so we thought. Because 3 days later, Marcus's parole officer called. "We have a problem. Your son's drug test came back positive." The parole office smelled of burnt coffee and cheap disinfectant. Marcus sat rigid in a plastic chair, orange jumpsuit swapped for a gray hoodie, but the cuffs might as well have been back on. His parole officer, Ms. Delgado, slid the lab report across the desk. Oxycodone, level consistent with recent use. You know what this means. Marcus's voice cracked. "I haven't touched a pill in 2 years, I swear." Delgado's eyes were flat. "Random test. Chain of custody airtight. Revocation hearing Monday. Pack a bag." I stood in the hallway, fists clenched so hard my nails drew blood. Marcus hadn't relapsed. Someone had spiked him. The timing, 3 days after Connor's empire crumbled, was no coincidence. Someone wanted him back inside, discredited, the nonprofit in chaos. Rebecca met us at the house. "We fight this, retest, independent lab, hair follicle." Marcus shook his head. "Hair shows 90 days. If they dosed me last week, it'll confirm." His phone buzzed. Unknown number. A photo. Him at the welding yard sipping from a water bottle. Caption, "Hydrate or die." The bottle. Someone had access to his job site. We drove to the apprenticeship yard in Soto. The foreman, Jake, remembered the day. Some lady dropped off electrolytes for the crew, said corporate wellness program. CCTV showed a woman in a courier jacket, baseball cap low. Facial recognition pinged. Denise Hale, back from Costa Rica, new nose, bleached hair. Denise wasn't done. She'd laced the bottle, framed Marcus, aimed to trigger parole violation and seize control of the nonprofit board through a family emergency clause she'd discovered in the bylaws. If Marcus was incarcerated, she could petition as next of kin to freeze assets pending fiduciary review. Rebecca's contacts at the DA fast-tracked a warrant. We hit Denise's Airbnb in Capitol Hill at dawn. She answered in silk pajamas, smug. "You need more than a photo, Evelyn." FBI found the oxycodone vial in her freezer, same batch as Marcus's test. Her laptop held emails to a disgraced chemist, enough to pop a UA, not kill. Denise lawyered up, but the revocation hearing became a circus. Judge Roth, fresh from Delaware, presided via emergency transfer. Marcus took the stand, voice steady. "I built my life one weld at a time. Someone wants to melt it down." The chemist rolled for a deal, testified. Denise paid $5,000 cash. Case dismissed. Marcus walked free by noon. We thought it was over. Again. That night, Second Ledger hosted its annual gala, rooftop of the Smith Tower, Seattle's skyline glittering. Marcus gave the keynote, voice thick with gratitude. 2 years ago, I tried to poison my mother for money. Tonight, we've placed 200 ex-offenders in jobs paying $25 an hour or more. Applause thundered. I circulated, accepting checks when a server tapped my shoulder. Delivery for Evelyn Harper. A small gift box ribboned. Inside, a single syringe filled with clear liquid. Note, 1 dose in the champagne fountain. Watch the party die. Or wire $5 million by midnight. Account attached. The room spun. 300 guests. Donors, kids from the coding program, Marcus on stage. I signaled Rebecca, who alerted Ruiz undercover as catering. Bomb-sniffing dogs swept negative, but the syringe tested positive for fentanyl. Lethal in micrograms. Ruiz whispered, "We can evacuate, but the sender's watching. Play along, trace the wire." I nodded, heart hammering. Marcus saw my face, stepped down mid-speech. "Mom?" I showed him the note. His jaw set. "We end this tonight." We staged the transfer. Rebecca's team spoofed the wire, routed it to an FBI honeypot. At 11:57, the account pinged acceptance. At 11:59, Ruiz's team triangulated the receiver, a burner laptop in the Space Needle's observation deck. Public Wi-Fi. SWAT ascended in the service elevator. They found a teenager, 19, shaking, hired on the dark web for $10,000 to press send. He rolled instantly. Guy paid in crypto. Called himself Ghost Dad. Ghost Dad? Connor had a son, Ethan Hale, 22, MIT dropout, dark web legend, raised on his father's grudge, radicalized in prison chat rooms. He'd orchestrated everything from Denise's return to the fentanyl threat using disposable proxies. Ethan vanished before SWAT reached the deck, but the laptop held gold. Encrypted chats with Connor, plans to crash Second Ledger's donor database with a 0-day exploit at midnight. Rebecca's cyber team patched it in 90 seconds. The gala continued, guests none the wiser. Marcus finished his speech to roaring ovation. FBI raided Ethan's off-grid cabin in the Cascades at 3:00 a.m. They found servers, fake IDs, and a wall of photos. Me, Marcus, Rebecca, even Judge Roth. Ethan smirked in cuffs. You stopped the money, but not the message. Wealth hoarded is wealth stolen. At sentencing, Ethan got 15 years. Cyber terrorism, attempted mass murder. Connor, linked via prison calls, tacked on another 20. Denise flipped stateside, testifying for immunity. The Hale family was dust. Marcus and I stood on the porch at dawn, city quiet. It's really over this time, he said. I handed him a new key. Your father's old office. It's yours now. Run the nonprofit. I'm retiring to the board. He teared up. I don't deserve... You earned it. Every weld, every life you lifted. Second Ledger broke ground on a national expansion. Thomas's second chance centers in 5 cities. Marcus hired the teenager from the Space Needle as an intern after juvenile diversion. Everyone gets a ledger, he said, but one loose thread nagged. Ethan's last words in court. Ghost Dad had a partner. You'll meet her soon. I dismissed it as bravado until the mail arrived 3 days later. A single postcard, no return address, front a Seattle sunset, back typed words. Congratulations, Evelyn, you cleaned house. But the real inheritance isn't money. It's blood. See you at the reunion. V. Thomas had a sister, Victoria, estranged since childhood, rumored dead in a boating accident 30 years ago. The postcard smelled faintly of salt water. Marcus stared at it. Dad said she drowned. I remembered Thomas's face when her name came up. Fear, not grief. Some ghosts don't stay drowned. The reunion was in 1 month. Thomas's 60th high school class, Whidbey Island. Victoria's name was on the RSVP list. The ferry to Whidbey Island cut through slate-gray water, gulls screaming overhead like warnings. I stood on the deck clutching the postcard, wind whipping my silver hair. Marcus leaned on the rail beside me, welding calluses stark against the white paint. If Victoria's alive, he said, why surface now? I had no answer. Thomas's sister had vanished in 1994. Boat capsized off Deception Pass, body never found. Insurance paid $2 million. Thomas refused the payout, called it blood money. Now the RSVP list confirmed, Victoria Harper +1. We docked at Coupaville under a ceiling of fog. The reunion was at the Captain Whidbey Inn, cedar beams and lantern light. Classmates aged into strangers. Marcus wore a blazer over his Second Ledger polo. I wore the pearl brooch Thomas gave me on our 30th anniversary. We checked in, then split up. Marcus to mingle, me to the registration table. The volunteer handed me a name tag. Victoria's already here, she whispered, kept to herself, said she's your sister-in-law. I found her on the back deck, staring at the Penn Cove mussel rafts. Same sharp cheekbones as Thomas, but dyed raven hair, eyes the color of glacier runoff. She turned when my shadow fell across the planks. Evelyn, voice like smoked honey. You look exactly like the photos Connor sent from prison. I kept my voice level. You faked your death for insurance money. She smiled. I faked it for freedom. Thomas was the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect wife, perfect patents. I was the mistake. Dad's a fair baby. He left me nothing but a warning. Stay gone or I'll bury you myself. She sipped from a flask. So I buried Victoria Harper instead. Became Vera Holt. Private wealth manager. Cayman banks love a ghost. Marcus appeared, hand on my elbow. We're leaving. Victoria laughed. Not yet. You need to hear the rest. She led us to a private dining room, walls paneled in driftwood. A projector hummed. Slides flicked. Thomas at 25, signing the original patent with Connor. Next, a scanned letter. Thomas to Victoria, 1993. If you ever resurface, the addendum activates. Connor gets half. Keep the world thinking you're dead. Marcus's jaw dropped. Dad protected Connor? Victoria shook her head. He protected you. Connor was blackmailing him, knew about the affair, threatened to tell you Evelyn was adopted. My knees buckled. Marcus caught me. Mom, Victoria continued, Thomas paid Connor to stay silent. When I died, the insurance funded Connor's silence. But Connor got greedy, wanted the patents. Thomas wrote the hospital addendum under duress to buy time. He planned to expose everything after Ethan was born, give the boy a clean slate. Cancer took him first. I found my voice. Why tell us now? She clicked to the final slide, a DNA test. Ethan Hale, 99.9% match to Marcus. Ethan's your grandson. Connor raped a prison nurse. She gave the baby up. I adopted him through back channels, raised him to hate you both. My revenge. Marcus staggered. You turned my son into a monster? Victoria's eyes softened. For a flicker. I turned him into a weapon, but weapons rust. He's in solitary now, screaming for his real father. You. The room spun. Ethan, my blood, had nearly killed 300 people with fentanyl. Marcus's face crumpled. Where is he? Victoria slid a visitor pass across the table. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., Monroe Correctional. He'll only talk to family. We drove back to Seattle in silence, fog swallowing the headlights. At home, Marcus poured whiskey with shaking hands. I have a son who wants me dead. I gripped his wrist. We save him the way you were saved, one weld at a time. Next morning, Monroe's visiting room smelled of bleach and despair. Ethan sat chained to the table, eyes red-rimmed. 22 going on 60. Grandma, Dad. Sarcasm dripped. Marcus leaned in. You tried to murder my mother. Ethan shrugged. You murdered mine. Connor said you abandoned us. I slid Victoria's adoption papers across. Connor lied. We never knew you existed. Ethan's bravado cracked. She said you'd say that. Marcus's voice broke. I spent 2 years in Orange for trying to kill her. I earned every day. You can too. He placed a second ledger brochure on the table. When you're 18 months clean, there's a welding spot with your name. Ethan stared at the brochure like it might bite. Why help me? I answered. Because Thomas believed in second chances, even for ghosts. Victoria was arrested that afternoon. FBI had tailed us to Whidbey. Insurance fraud, conspiracy, child endangerment. She took a plea. 15 years. At sentencing, she looked at me. Tell Ethan I'm sorry. I nodded. Some apologies are too late, but not all. Ethan entered the prison's second chance pilot, Marcus's design. Weekly letters, monthly visits. 6 months in, he wrote, welded my first beam today. Didn't shake. Marcus framed it in the office. The nonprofit boomed. Ethan's story, anonymous, raised $10 million in grants. Victoria's Cayman accounts, seized, funded college for every kid in the program. 1 year later, Ethan walked out on parole. Marcus met him at the gate. No hugs, just a welding helmet. Job starts Monday, rent's market rate. Ethan took it, eyes wet. Yes, sir. That night, Marcus and I stood on the porch, city lights twinkling. Dad's ledger's balanced, he said. I smiled. Almost. Because in the mail, a final postcard. No return address, a single line in Thomas's handwriting. Impossible, yet there. Blood forgives, now live. The postcard sat on my kitchen table like a live wire. Thomas had died 3 years ago. Cancer, closed casket, ashes scattered in the sound. Yet the ink was fresh, the paper crisp. I flipped it over, a photo of the beach house on Whidbey we'd sold after Victoria's arrest. On the back, in his unmistakable engineer's slant, blood forgives. Now live. Meet me where the ledger began. Midnight. Come alone. Marcus walked in, helmet under his arm, Ethan trailing with a shy nod. They'd just finished a father-son weld at the nonprofit's new Tacoma shop. "Mom, what's wrong?" I showed them. Marcus's face hardened. "Dad's dead. Someone's playing us." Ethan, quieter now, studied the card. "Or someone wants you alone." Rebecca arrived within the hour, FBI cyber unit on speaker. Handwriting matches Thomas's old journals, 98%, but the photo's new, time-stamped yesterday. She traced the postmark, Coopville, Whidbey Island. Same beach house, someone's inside. We geared up. Marcus insisted on coming, I refused. If it's a trap, they want both of us. Ethan surprised me. "Let me go, I'm expendable." Marcus's eyes flashed. "Your family." The word hung. First time he'd said it. Ethan swallowed. "Then we go together." Midnight found us creeping up the beach path, moon silver on the waves. The house, sold to a nonprofit trust, stood dark, windows boarded. A single light glowed in the attic. We split, Marcus and Ethan around back, Rebecca on drone overwatch, me through the front. The door creaked open on silent hinges. Inside smelled of salt and old cedar. A trail of LED tea lights led upstairs. I followed, heart hammering. The attic door stood ajar. Inside, a man sat at Thomas's old drafting table, back to me, hunched over blueprints. "Thomas?" My voice cracked. He turned. Not Thomas. Older, gaunt, eyes the same glacier blue. "Hello, Evelyn." Victoria's voice, but male. "I'm Vincent, Thomas's twin, the one the family erased." I froze. Thomas had never mentioned a brother. Vincent stood, hands raised. "I'm not armed. Hear me out." Marcus burst in behind me, Ethan at his flank. Vincent smiled sadly. "The whole set. Good," he explained in a rush. Fraternal twins separated at birth. Thomas to the wealthy Harpers, Vincent to a foster system that chewed him up. He'd tracked Thomas in the 90s, begged for help. Thomas paid him to disappear. $200,000 hush money. He said exposure would ruin you both. Adoption secrets, patent scandals. Vincent faked the drowning with Victoria's help. She was his lover, not Thomas's sister. They split the insurance, lived in the Caymans. Victoria raised Ethan. Vincent watched from afar, nursing resentment. "Then Connor found me," Vincent continued. "Offered a cut if I helped destroy you. I refused, watched him fail. When Victoria flipped, I knew it was my turn." He slid the blueprints across. Thomas's final patent, never filed, a clean energy grid stabilizer, worth billions. He mailed it to me before he died with instructions, "Give it to Evelyn when she's strong enough to share." Marcus scanned the pages. "This could power half the coast." Vincent nodded. "Free license to second ledger, no strings." Ethan whispered, "Why now?" Vincent's eyes misted. "Because you saved my grandson." "Blood forgives." Rebecca's voice crackled in my earpiece. "House is clear. He's alone." I studied Vincent. "You wrote the postcards." He nodded. "Thomas's handwriting. I practiced for years, wanted you to feel him." A ghost's apology. We left at dawn, blueprints in a waterproof tube. Vincent vanished into the fog, destination unknown. "Some ghosts need to stay gone," he said. The patent launched second ledger into the stratosphere, licenses to utilities, grants from Gates and Bezos. Ethan earned his journeyman ticket, started a clean energy apprenticeship. Marcus proposed to his girlfriend, a social worker from the gala, on the Whidbey beach at sunset. I officiated, barefoot in the sand. 1 year later, the nonprofit broke ground on Harper Energy campus. Solar roofs, welding bays, coding labs. Ethan cut the ribbon. Marcus spoke. "My father tried to poison his mother. I tried to poison mine. This place is proof. Ledgers can balance." I stood in the back, tears blurring the crowd. A groundskeeper approached, handed me an envelope. Inside, a single ledger page, Thomas's handwriting, final entry. Assets, family, liabilities, none. Balance, love. I pressed it to my heart. The ghosts were finally at rest. Second ledger thrives. Ethan's sober 5 years, engaged to a former foster kid turned engineer. Marcus and his wife expect their first child, a girl. They'll name her Evelyn. And every midnight I walk the porch, wind off the sound carrying Thomas's whisper, "Live." I do.